you could always work into the Yom Shovim during whatever time you want. And with that, we end the 6 9. Huh? I know you just do that in the end. It's funny. He doesn't usually do that. Right. Yeah, it's usually it's not enough. I sent this word for the guy last night. 10 minutes of voice message.
Are you guys sending voice messages back?
I forgot to call him.
Where did they live? So?
Yeah.
Should be telling us. Your shots. Right on.
Olive?
Base.
Base over there now.
Right behind you. Maybe you should come.
He is there.
Yeah, there is one.
Whatever you want. Don't come into the box. It's between the doors.
No, please.
Oh, yeah.
You drove back to this country to get this box.
Oh, you know.
Bayam Darchecha, to thank the Harness Hashanah sponsoring Shiurim Le'iloi Nishmas Rav Gedalia ben Reb Shimon Yerushalayim Shavim Aviv. We're on page Kuf Nun Vav. Kuf Nun Vav. We're learning about those things that get in the way of our simcha. Jews have a habit of making cheshbainis. And the cheshbon is a good way to live, living by the cheshbon, both in terms of things in Kashmir, to be realistic and know what's going on, and in Ruchnius as well. There's a famous word from the Vilna Gaon, Susi Elenu, with the Lashon of Chazal, that a person should make a din v'cheshbon. So what is the meaning of din and cheshbon? So din means that a person has to know what is it that he's guilty of, what is it that he's culpable of wrong. And cheshbon is not only what he did wrong, but how he wasted that time when he could have been doing something right. So it's hard enough to contend with those feelings of guilt over doing something that's wrong. Say you spent a day doing something you shouldn't have been doing, something that was forbidden. So that's din, and a person's also litin is a din. And there's a din, and there's a dayan, there's a judgment, there's a judge on what was done wrong on that particular day, whatever the day was. There's a din. So what's the cheshbon? So the Gaon says the meaning of cheshbon is that day that you spend doing something that's wrong. Besides that, besides the punishment for what's wrong, there's also what you could have done that would have been right. You could have spent that day learning. You could have spent that day, talking to your grandmother or something. You could have done something good. So all conscientious, sincere, good people live not only with din, they live also with a cheshbon. They keep an accounting of their lives. So there's oftentimes a terrible, terrible feeling of loss, of what I could have done. That's one madrega of cheshbon. Another madrega of cheshbon is the damage that I've caused myself in the past. To make a cheshbon, how I was mafsid so much in my life because of what I've done in the past. So even though there's certainly truth to these cheshbainis, and a person needs to be a bal cheshbon. Nevertheless, we've already been learning through this mimer that the loss of Simchas Chaim can be infinitely more damaging than any of these other cheshbainis. The loss of Simchas Chaim. So it's difficult to balance this. To be a serious person who keeps a cheshbon, and at the same time, not to be destroyed by the cheshbon. To continue to be a person that's besimcha, that's not constantly walking around thinking or saying, I could have, I should have, I would have, why didn't I, why did I do that? To live in that world of cheshbonis it takes away all the chiyas, takes away a person's life. At the same time, there needs to be a cheshbon. So let's learn a little bit on Kuf Nun Vav. Sometimes, and with some people, not just sometimes, but obsessively, the Yetzer Hara is working working overtime to make sure that the person has thoughts of sadness on things of the past. Even though the person is doing well now. Even though he's doing well. But he can't stop thinking about the past. And this awakens within the person a feeling, a constant feeling of what was lost, what I ruined. Among all things that take away a person's simcha, that which is most powerful is the feeling of hefsed, of loss, and hachmatzah means, like the word chametz, hachmatzah means lost opportunities, things that I let them sit, things that I could have done. Remember reading years ago that there was some study that was made that they interviewed the wealthiest people and what did they regret most in life. So there weren't, from what I recall, there weren't any of those people that said that they regretted that they could have made another deal, or they could have made more money. And even though their whole lives, that's all they're doing, their whole lives they're making deals. But not one of them spoke about the regret that he had over not making more deals. All of them spoke about the regret they had of not spending more time with their family, or with things that they didn't go to church more, or the things that matter, and a terrible feeling of hachmatzah. I blew it. Life has passed me by. You look at your kids and you say, "No, I could have and I should have. I would have, but I was like this, and I couldn't because of work, and I had." But the feeling of hachmatzah is terrible. It takes away simchas chaim. But rochnius abagashmis. When it comes to spiritual matters, and when it comes to things that I could have done to be matzliach, or could have accomplished in my life, in gashmis, and so on, to look back, it's a terrible, terrible feeling, both in rochnius and gashmis. V'hi tchusha mishatekes mamish. This is a feeling that mamish paralyzes a person. It just paralyzes it. A person finds it hard to move on with his life. V'tafeses chazak es adam. It takes such strong hold of a person. The geremes lo atzvus v'chalishes adas. He's filled with atzvus, regret over what could have been, and chalishes hadas. L'famim he geremes lo yeush, and sometimes it brings him to a place of yeush, of mamish, of despair. and takes away from him the koach to continue on with his life and to be productive and do good things. So the marshal, the person is sick over the fact that he didn't give himself over properly to his family. So instead of doing that now, whatever time in his life remains, he doesn't. He's just stuck in that place. Doesn't change. He's just stuck with this terrible feeling. Especially when a person looks, and it wasn't just that somebody else. People have tinus. That if not for this guy, I would have been maslich. If not for that guy, if not for my wife, if not for the boss, if not for the... So, but when a person honestly realizes, and he makes a cheshbon, that ein hadava tolui ela bi, then I'm the one who caused myself this hefsid. It's not anybody else's fault. It's my fault. Shagarm la'atzmais hefsid. He caused himself this hefsid. And in his head, he's constantly playing this refrain. If only I would have done like this and not like that. If only I would have done. Or if only I wouldn't have done that. Then I would have been matzlich. I remember telling many times over the years that by the chayzer from Lublin, the long lines of people are going in to see the chayzer. And there was a certain yid that he just showed up, and he went right to the front of the line. And he went straight to the front of the line, and this was more than once. He didn't wait on line, and he went past the guy, he moved him aside, and he would just go into the chayzer like this. And everybody was always very angry at him. And he would spend a considerable amount of time there with the chayzer, and he would walk out and he wouldn't talk to anybody, he was done. So there were people there was a machlokes. Some said that he's one of the Lamavav tzaddikim, even though he looked like a poy, like a peasant in the way he acted, but he's one of the Lamavav tzaddikim, or he doesn't like that. The chayzer sits with him. Others said no, he's a poy and he's bothering the rabbi. Anyway, finally they had enough courage to ask the chayzer, who is this person? He's a Lamavav tzaddik. So the chayzer said, he's a Lamavav tzaddik. What kind of tzaddik? He does every aver, the Raisa, the Rabban. So Rebbe, why he goes in like that? We all have to stand there for the whole day. And he walks in, he spends an hour with you. So the Chayzer said to them like this. He said, all of you, you're always depressed because you're filled with regret of all the averes you do. This guy doesn't have the slightest feeling of regret. And it's a pleasure to be with him a little bit. As he said, I enjoy being with him. He has no inyan of sadness or remorse. He's just a wild mensch. And every now and then it's like just nice to sit with him. The Jews are filled with cheshbonis. And this Yid wasn't about cheshbon. It's like, no. Had a bad day. That was it. He was happy. He says there's like pure joy without any of the other stuff the Jews walk around with. So this is a terrible feeling. Says kach v'kach. Oh, if only I would have done that, if I would have invested in this, if I would have married that one, if I would have sent my kid to that yeshiva, not to this place, if I would have. So then he said, then I would have certainly been masliach. As I heard the margish oid ramiza, this causes a person to feel terrible. And that's true when it comes to even things like work and success in business and so on. How much more so when it comes to ruchnius. And and especially if he did touch the things that were wrong in ruchnius, he did the things that were wrong. He made mistakes. And he lost things that can't argue with us. The fact that he messed up. So to constantly go back and think about it could have been different. I could have done it differently. Why didn't I? Why wasn't I thinking? Why did I do it that way? This is the strongest cause of atzus, of sadness. We'll go to the notes in a minute after we finish this. The Eitzel for this is last is tshuva. First of all, if there's something from the past that you did that was wrong, if there's something that you did, then stop doing it. That's the first thing, is to do tshuva. You could have a guy that's a drunk and he sits and the guy sits with you talking the whole time, talking about the problems that he has because he's a drunk. So the Torah says, stop drinking. That's the first thing. Stop doing what you're doing. If you're messing up your life and you're messing up your whole family because of this bad habit that you have, then stop it. Stop doing it. That's the do tshuva. Okay, it's easier said than done. But if you're having terrible feelings of regret, so there's and you know what the reason is, so stop it. There was many years ago there was a television, there was a comedian, and he had part of his shtick. He was saying how, he said to a friend of his, I have been feeling like lately, I don't know what it is. I've been feeling this sense of sadness. I can't come to myself. So the guy says, what's the reason? I can't put my finger on it. So he said, so his friend told him, let's go over, when did this start? So he said, this happened. It started on Saturday. I started feeling, I don't know what it is. So he said, what happened on Saturday? Let's talk about the day. Maybe I could help you. So he said, it started with everything was okay. I met my girlfriend, and she wanted to. We were supposed to go to the beach together, and she wanted to stop off at the shopping mall to do some shopping. I didn't want to. We had an argument in the parking lot, and then I shot her. And it keeps on going on. He goes, I shot her. I dumped her body in the river, and then I went to watch the ball game. So he couldn't put his finger on it. What was it? It's like I had this vague sense of uneasiness that I'm unhappy. So the first thing is stop doing bad things. Do tshuva. That's the first thing. Do tshuva. He's not taking his mistake seriously. So you have to do tshuva. And even if you don't know at this moment how you're going to practically change your life, you don't know yet how you're going to stop drinking. Let's say that's the Indian. You don't know how to do it, but you already have you have regret, and you want to change, and you're saying to Hashem, you're admitting is vidui. In other words, you're in the sugya of tshuva. So then you need to enter deep into the emunus hayichud, into that clarity of belief in Hashem. This to believe in a very, very clear way that in what Hashem told us, that tshuva works. It erases. And even if you haven't yet figured out a way to practically overcome, so we have it. There's Shittas of the Rishonim, and the Mabit and others hold that there's such a thing as tshuva that's not complete, it's partial, but it still is a tremendous bar of tshuva, even though you haven't yet been able to complete the practical, tying together things practically. Rav Kook and Arisha Tshuva, we learned a lot about that. And to enter into that place of yichud, not as an excuse to continue with the bad behavior, but to strengthen to mechazik yourself that you're Baruch Hashem. You're not just going on like this guy with his girlfriend in the parking lot, and you're in the parasha of tshuva, of Hashivenu Hashem Elecha. You're in that parasha. It's a very chashuv thing. The belief in the truth of Hashem and His wonders. After the person has done tshuva, again, either completely tshuva shlema or he's trying, he's in the parish of tshuva, but tzarich comes the bittul gomer, then he has to go into a place of bittul. L'dash Hashem's kol kadosh yochel sakana, to know that Hashem's greatness is not limited, and Hashem is so great that He's able to erase everything. He's able to fix everything. You think that you can't fix the past. You're incapable of correcting what took place because you hurt people. Obviously, there's things that you hurt, and you can speak to those people. You have to ask for mechila. But the things that you've done in the past, you can't fix all the Shabbases that you didn't keep. You can't fix the other averas that you might have done during that time with the cheshbon that you have. You can't go back to the past. But Hashem, you believe in tshuva, and Hashem promised that He takes care of it, and it's done. There's a wonderful Bach who I love very much, and I've been having this argument with him already for a long time, because there were things that he looked at when he was younger. He's already moved on in life, Hashem. He has a family. But there are things that, he looks back and he simply cannot stop making himself miserable over the things that he never did anything with anybody, but he looked at a lot of bad things and he can't get over that. And it's harming him. It's harming his life. It's hurting his marriage. It's hurting his life in a terrible way. And I keep on telling him that it's finished. It's gone. It's all deleted. You don't believe in Hashem. Hashem said it's Masakin HaKol. Hashem fixed it. You can't go back and change that time in your life. No, you can't go back. But Hashem can. And Hashem does. And it's finished. Hashem pressed the button. It's gone. You said, as long as you tell me the truth and you're clean now. And he says, no, I've been clean for that. So then stop thinking about it. Stop talking about it. It's finished. It doesn't exist anymore. But that requires a tremendous amount of emunah, that it doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean it doesn't exist? You have clear memory of the things that were wrong, and it doesn't exist. So to cross over from that place of the reality that you experienced to the place of emunah that says that it's no longer and it never even was, it's a very hard thing to do. It requires emunah and yichud Hashem and bittul, to remember yourself to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to know, looking back, to know that all of that was part of my being able to become a greater person, and it was all hashgacha pratis, as the Svarim tell us. Again, it's not something that we speak about, to the kids when they're young, and we give shiurim about in high school. But the truth is, that we've learned this in the Svarim HaKadoshim, that it was hashgacha pratis. In other words, on a deeper level, once you've done tshuva, it wasn't you that did that, and it was hashgacha pratis that in a certain way you didn't even have bechira. This is spoken very openly in the Svarim of Ishbitz and Lin and Tzaddik, and other Svarim less openly, but it's there, and it was something that you yourself would not have done. There was a reason why you now, looking back, to believe in hashgacha pratis, that it's something that had to happen, and you're not using that as an excuse, and you can't think that unless you're completely clean and finished with it, and you're done, and you've done tshuva. And it wasn't you never did it. It was something that you were forced to doing for some reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to bring you to something greater. Like Mashiach comes from Yehuda, and Yehuda goes with Tamar, and Chazal say, Bikesh Yehuda Lavi. Yehuda wanted to cross over the street. He wasn't going to go to Tamar. Yehuda was a big tzaddik. You can't be masking such a thing. And it says, the Chazal have a lotion that there was an angel that was Mamun al Taiva, that's responsible for taivas, for desire, and this malach pushed Yehuda. Bikesh Yehuda Lavi. Yehuda was running across the street. He sees a woman. He runs across the street, but so anybody could say that. I didn't want to do this. I was pushed, but it wouldn't be true. But once a person does tshuva like Yehuda, a person does sincere, a person comes to a place of tzadka mimani, and I'm guilty, and he does tshuva, and Yehuda's name means vidui and haidoya and odah and so on. So then Hashem Yisbach reveals to you that it was an Indian that he had with you. Because Baruch was bringing Mashiach down and such a thing. We don't know how or why, that's not for now. Yeah, Hashem, it's one of Hashem's mysterious ways of running the world. Why is it that you went through that? Why did you go through that? And to believe that whom manig a moivel asylum l'tov hagomer. This is something which that from that ra, that tov is going to grow. Once you've done shuvah, that tov is going to come. There's all also, if you learn der Hashem and das Tunis, if you learn Ramchal Svar, that Hashem is in charge. And Akash Baruch has a plan and is bringing the world to Hatoiv HaGomer, and your own personal world, Hatoiv HaGomer, to absolute good, to the best that you could be. Therefore, anything that happened and anything that will be, it's only Toiv HaGomer, it's completely good. Everything is in the hands in the best hands. Everything is in the best hands. A person is responsible for his actions. If you mess something up, you have to fix it. Once a person has done shuvah, Hashem is Baruch Hu welcomed you back. He's Baruch Mechaper, because Baruch is Mechaper, because Baruch cleaned up everything. That doesn't mean that the person that you insulted is talking to you. The Aveira that you did, I mean, of course you have to try to make sure, but because Ben Chaveru, you have to work out things with the other person. But there's sometimes you also can't work it out. Let's say you messed up someone's life and the person's dead. So what are you supposed to do? So Chazal tell us you can go to his kever, ask for mechila, but Hashem gave a way of tikkun. Obviously, if you can, you should reach the person while he's alive and see what you could do. But if you can't, so then it doesn't mean that it's fafal. Hashem is masakin hakol. Not only that, Hashem changes everything l'tayv. Everything is changed l'tayv. And there will come from this eventually at some point, Tova Gemura, something very great. So that one needs to believe that after he's done proper tshuva, ein malid style, not to be mitzvah at all, not to be mitzvah at all. Ein lid style. The Tanya does say that there's an Indian of Chatasi Kenegdi Samid. What does that mean? It says, Chatasi, David Amal said that my sins are always before me. Chatasi Kenegdi. So the Tanya brings rayas from Tanakh that the word Kenegdi doesn't mean in your face. It means at a distance. So a person does need to remember that, like, there's a certain place you should stay away from. This is a place this was a place or a person that almost destroyed his life. Could have destroyed his life. And he messed up in that place or with that person and so on. So the Tanya says, Chatasi Kenegdi Summit, the Donach wasn't saying, like you said, Yom Keneged Ahar. It doesn't mean right in front of the mountain. They weren't allowed to go up to the mountain. So Kenegdi means mirachok. It means you see it, but it's not in your face. So a person has to remember that if he has a certain weakness, because he fell in the past due to this weakness, then he needs to know that, if you had a problem drinking, then stay away from the kiddush, stay away from the table, or stay away from the and anybody that's, I know people, alcoholics, have told me that that's the whole lives they're struggling with. I've spoken to many over the years of other bad habits. They have to has to be far away. You can't just say, oh, I did tshuva, and then to go back to the place of the crime, because he did tshuva and Hashem has forgiven him and Hashem erased the past. But the Maisa, he had a problem drinking and he had to go to get all kinds of help. And now don't go to those places. stay away from the drinks. So a person can't be oblivious to his past, but the Tanya says that means, don't know, I'm saying kinegdi. It means it's a cross for me. I know that I need to be careful, and I remember how it wasn't good, but I don't obsess over that. I don't go there in my head. I keep it at a distance, but I know it's there. It's lurking there, and if I'm not careful, it could pounce on me again. So you have to be conscious of that danger. You don't just walk back. You don't walk right back into enemy territory. But at the same time, you don't obsess over it. It's very hard to draw that line. It's one of the trickiest things, one of the hardest things to draw that line. You have to believe the Emunah Shleima, the Koach of Tshuva. Rav Kook wrote a lot about that in Arz Tshuva, the Emunah in Tshuva, to believe in Tshuva. Everybody knows officially that it works. And we all go through El Shem Kippur, but to believe in Tshuva. Let's look at some of the notes. Reish Nun Hey. Gamid Dvarim Gashmim. The regret that we have over even Dvarim Gashmim things, not just Ruchnius, but in Gashmius. The Yitzim Manasal Balbus Adam Lachshav, Idu Hayisi Ezek Akvakar, Zelo Hayakare, Echadayim. The Yetzer Hara is constantly causing this sadness from this thought that, if only I wouldn't have invested in that, if only I wouldn't have trusted this guy, and bought that or whatever. Constantly these thoughts, or if I would have invested, constantly having these thoughts. B'tzarach l'dchaysai, aydei machshavas ha'emuna, liska sha'kol b'gezeres elyon, ha'mayisi adam mishtadlusa einam klum. The person has to push these thoughts away with emuna, and to know that this is all gezer. How come you did something that was so dumb? There's a mahalach that Hashem has with you to bring you even to bring you to that place of humility, whatever it is, and all this is and the shtadlus of a person bemis is nothing. It would have happened to you a different way, whatever it is. It's not to make yourself crazy to think about it. One of my favorite stories about my father, which I've told you many times, I'm just repeating because it fits into here where we are, is that when my father and my uncles, that they used to always do. Whatever they invested, they always did together. My father had one older brother that survived, and they Yitzchak, and everything they did together were like mamish, like this. And there was this whole time whenever there was Indian to buy some gold, something with London. I don't remember. I just know that my father didn't think it was the best idea, but he was always mevatel himself. Him and his brother, they spoke about it. And my uncle felt it was a good investment. And the two of them invested a lot of money in it, and it was all over the news. I came home, and it was all over the news that something crashed. This whole thing fell apart, and everything is verfallen. And my mother was reading this or something in the paper, and she was all upset about it. And I told she should never have listened. My mother was very upset about it. And then my mother said to me, make sure, don't tell anything to Daddy. First let Daddy come home and have supper. Don't start with it. Don't bring. So I said, okay, right. So my father comes home, and my mother goes, no. It's like that. And I'm looking, and I can't believe this. This is like, no. So my father says, what? What is it? What happened? My mother says, no. You didn't hear? That's my mother. I didn't say a word. My mother says, nope, you didn't hear. And then already it's Hungarian, and my father comes in. So first my mother told me, but my father asked, is everybody okay? She says, no, everybody's okay. So my father said, so and my mother takes the newspaper, whatever it was, and shows my father what happened. And my mother had already made a chesh with it. It was a lot of money. That whatever. And I think they remember they weren't losing, but they could have made. It wasn't, I don't remember exactly the details of it, but I just remember my father said again, and he just went and he washed up and he came to eat supper, and my father, the rule in the house was that my father would come home, and these days it probably sounds crazy, no matter what my sister and I were doing, the rule was that we would sit at the table together. My father came home very late. He'd come home from work like at 7:30, 8 o'clock or something. So my sister and I would always sit at the table with my father, and my mother and my father would come home, and so we were all talking about what happened, because now it was wide open. My mother opened it up, and my father just looked at us and said, and he left. He just left, and he said, "Everybody's okay." He says, "I could have made it. I didn't make it. Should have made it." This is my father said that, and it wasn't. You can't fake that. It wasn't anything at all. Anything. He just said, "We're all here. Everybody's okay." But that's all. Nothing. And it stayed in my head. It was a very strong thing because it wasn't like he was trying to, act and to show and to give a lesson. It was just, let's move ahead. It's finished. That's all. And that requires a tremendous amount of emunah. Also, I don't want to say it helped that he went through a lot of other stuff that was worse than that. That probably contributed to that being satisfied with the life that he had. But it was always like that. It was never an Indian like that. If I didn't do as well on a test that I wanted to do, and I was all upset about, my father would always just say, "So then study better next time. Stop talking about it. Make a whole thing to do. And then next time, study more, and you get a better grade. But you're making it." It was always like that. Never ever lost his equilibrium. I never in such a way. Commercial Kosovo, Chabis Lavavis. Says that all of the effort that we make, we think that everything depends upon our shtadlus. That b'chlal not. There's just a gzera. There's a decree from Shemayim that you have to make your shtadlus. Hashem made the world, and there are 6 days before Shabbos, and you have to do what you have to do. It's your shtadlus. She'adam mechuyev la'asayisam, that a person's chayiv to make your shtadlus. Or that we have free choice. Hashem made a world where things operate under the guise of it being teva, being nature. Very time, of course, there are many. Not much talk about this is not for now. Mamela, ein shum kesher. Ben mashakar b'poil. There's no connection between what happened in reality. Ben masha adam also or lo yasa. What you did, or you could have done, or you didn't do. There's no connection. El mashakara hayakari b'chol ofen. What happened would have happened b'chol ofen. It would have happened no matter what. Talking about the war, about the Muhammad, how many people there were that if I could have saved my mother, if I would have, forget about money. People that tried to go on living afterwards thinking how they could have saved a kid, they could have saved a wife, or these machshavas, these people tormented themselves. They survived the war, and then they came out, and they were living for the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years, torturing themselves. But I should have done that, and I could have helped my mother, I could have done this, I would have been able to do that, and torturing themselves. The Mashakara Hayakari B'Chaloif and Kikach Hashem is Bar Gozar or L'Toiva. It was a Gzerus Hashem. Somehow, even though we don't see how, it was L'Toiva. Anna Medvar Ruchniim. Now, that's when it comes to Gashmias. Anna Medvar Ruchniim. However, when it comes to Ruchnias, see here, Hayetzar Shal Ha'atzvus, here the Yetzar of sadness, Yosef Chazak is stronger. This is coming ready with Ruchnias. It's coming with Shulchan Aruch. It's coming with Ruchnias. He came in Sheyesh L'Adam B'Chiva. As I mean, Mele Imto whom it's time Ha'Adam HaShai. He did an Aveira, and he's and he's very, very upset about it. And and part of tshuva is to have charata. You're supposed to regret it. Ki nira lo yishein ma lases. But here it seems like there's nothing to do. V'hefset v'ara yishar la'olam chasham. The Yitzhar tells the person, listen, this is not about money. This is about your neshama and so on, ruchnius, and that ra, that those averos and the damage that you've done, it's permanent. Mela margish absus and causes terrible sadness. This tsar, this anguish, is harder to push away. Because the ma'isa there is some truth to this. A person is responsible for his actions. La says mitzvahs, do mitzvahs and not to do averos. And you're responsible to do mitzvahs and not to do averos. And if you didn't put on tefillin, you missed a day of tefillin, or you machal Shabbos or something, you have to do tshuva. It's not like you lost some money, so you're not chayav to make that money. So you lost the money, okay. When it comes to Gashmi, there was a house, I could have bought that house, and I was thinking about it too much, and someone went ahead of me and bought that house. And now that was our dream house, and plenty of money went ahead and bought the house, and how come I didn't act faster? And I should have sat on it, I should have gotten it, and all these mashravas in Gashmi. It's okay, so it's not Haveir. So you lost the house. It's easier to get past. But when it comes to things that were wrong, there obviously the regret is much stronger. And the only age, of course, is the tshuva. When it comes to Gashmis, it's nothing. It's just you made hishtadlus because the Torah says you have to work. And you made hishtadlus. When it comes to Gashmis, when it comes to Ruchnis, that's your whole bechirus in Ruchnis. So, as I said before, that even when it comes to Ruchnius, Hashem Yisrael shows you after tshuva that was a certain mahala. You have to do tshuva. When it comes to a loss of money, you don't have to do any tshuva. You didn't do anything wrong. You made what appears to be you made a poor investment. So, or you whatever it is, you just made a wrong cheshbon. That you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything bad. So that already. That's bechlal not in you. It's just hishtadlus. That would have happened anyway. But with Averis, a person doesn't say, I would have done that Aver anyway. It's dangerous. If you do tshuva, I would do this anyway. To do tshuva, patient involved. Yesh choshen sh'atshuva yidava kasha. And then the next problem is that a person thinks of tshuva as being something which is very, very, very hard. The truth is, and the whole Oris HaTshuva is Nakuda. I've cooked the whole Oris HaTshuva. The truth is that Tshuva is easy. And Umeir, Kal Umeir, and it's lichtig. It's great. Tshuva is terrific. It brings a whole new light into your life. Tshuva is Meir. Chol ma she'odem tzarech la'aseh, zalom lefnei Hashem Yisbarach. All the person has to do, what does it mean to do tshuva? He has to say to Hashem honestly, "Ani mischaret al she'asisi." I'm sorry that I went against you. I regret that I went against you. And that took me away from you. And now I'm trying. I want. My rotzen is to serve you. I'm makabel to try my best. The fi madrigasi doesn't mean I have to be. It doesn't mean I have to become the Chavetz Chaim. According to my madriga, I'm going to try hard to be better, to do better. That's true. There's charata, vidui, and kabbalah haba to try to be better. Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Sure, Hashem, who knows what we're thinking and what we're feeling, and above it, it doesn't come with tightness. Hashem doesn't come with tightness and with unreasonable expectations. Hashem's Baruch doesn't operate like that. You know, when you read certain Svarim, you get that impression. You hear certain speeches by angry preachers and stuff. You think that that's what it is, but that's not Hashem. It's somebody else. Reish Nun Zayin. This is one of the great mysteries and secrets of Yichud, of belief in Hashem. In very deep and remarkable ways. Even when it comes to Ruchnis. Hashem is Megalgel. Akash Baruch Hu is Megalgel as Hakol. He's the one that's turning the wheel. He's Megalgel as Hakol. He was the one that was orchestrating everything. The Toiv HaGomer, the absolute Toiv. The Shum Dover, the Yetzim Shlitas HaShem. And there's nothing that's outside of Akash Baruch Hu's jurisdiction. Nothing is outside of Hashem. Shum Dover Yetzim Shlitas HaShem. Amnam Hanogei B'Pashtus L'Chalechad Usha Adam Chayiv L'Asis Tshuva Alav Anosav. However, a person has to be very, very careful that while you're still in the parsha of poor behavior, you can't think about that like that. You have to do tshuva. This is one of the mysteries of Bechira and Yediyah and so on. A man's choice and Hashem's knowing our choices before. There are two parashas of Bechira and Yediyah. And when you're doing it, when you're in the midst of doing something that's not right, and you're in that bad place, you cannot think about Yediyah at all. You have to think only about Bechira. And that's your responsibility, is to do what you can to change this. You are shliach shel haBorei L'Fa'al, because Hashem sent us to do in this world, to do. Shliach shekil chayil l'sakin. And if you're a shliach and you mess something up, you have to fix it. However, once the person has done proper tshuva, that's it. Done. That's the tikkun. And you need to believe emunah shleima that it's finished. And finished means not just that you're forgiven, but that it's something that had to be. You had to go through that. And to think of ways that you could grow as a result of what you've been through. Because that's the tachlis of all of this. And this is the greatness of the koach of tshuva. Shemikan v'hala, Hashem's Baruch kivyochel lokeach al atzmo asenyin. That once you've done tshuva, and Hashem's Baruch says, I got this. I'm in charge of this. This business that happened, it's my Indian. It's not yours anymore. You just go back to your family and be happy. It's done. Hashem takes over. Hashem takes over this achrayus, and it says, Hashem takes over. Once you've done tshuva, Hashem says, now it's mine. And Hashem will show you in a very, very amazing way a refuah, a trufa, a healing that comes davka mitoich hamaka, through the makkah, through the mistake that was made, and through what you went through, there comes a greater healing. It comes to something greater than was before. Shakol yisapach l'tov. Hakol yisapach l'tov. Kamei Shomer Chazal, as the Gemara says, Zidainas, even though those things that you did are various on purpose, Nasan l'kazachias. When Hashem takes over, and Hashem takes those averos, and takes the past, then Hashem can do whatever He wants with the past. Only Hashem can change the past. And once it's given over to Hashem, Hashem can take the past, and He makes it into something completely different. We don't understand how that could be, but that's what Hashem does. And then it turns out that the very same thing that you did that was terrible is now a schus. How could that be? You can't change the past. That's how Hashem can. And that's why Hashem, everything that was all known before, was all part of Yediyas Hashem. And now you come to a place of Yediyas Hashem, that Hashem knew. You're not allowed to do that before Tshuva. After you do tshuva, you come to a place of Hashem Yoda, Hashem Yodeya, and it's Hashem's Inyan. And Hashem can do whatever He wants with that. And Chazal tells Hashem changes that into something which is great. And to believe in that B'amunah Shleima, and to let go completely, except as I said before, from a distance, to just be careful to stay away from those things of the past, and not to test Hashem with your, tiptoeing around the schnapps at the kiddush. If that's your problem. It's just to stay away, stay far away from. I'm only talking about kiddush. It's not an Eish Kodesh, of course. I'm not talking about kiddush. Seltzer you could always do. Okay, we continue this session.
Yes, boss.